Akhilandamma, a life of service and surrender. Akhilandamma initially saw Sri Bhagavan shortly after his arrival at the Arunachaleswara Temple in 1896. She returned to him in 1903 and remained devoted to him for the rest of her life. Sri Bhagavan gave her the highest advaitic upadesa in 3 brief words. Unnai, vidāmal, be without leaving yourself. Akhilandamma, who faced no shortage of difficulties in her day-to-day life, also asked Sri Bhagavan for his protection during these trying times. Sri Bhagavan graciously granted her freedom from any fear, encouraging her to hold on to him in her heart. This she did until her last breath, serving Sri Bhagavan and his devotees with ever-flowing love and unending surrender. Born in 1887, Akhilandamma was married at the age of 5, from face to face with Sri Ramana, Hyderabad Kendra. Her husband died 2 years later. As per the then social custom, remarriage not being possible, she decided to devote her life to serving sadhus. In 1903, she visited Sri Ramana on the hill and felt his power. She served food to him for the next 4 decades, she recalls. In 1903, while wandering near the hill for gathering flowers, I saw many people walking towards the Sadguru Swami cave. A person from the crowd told me, "There is one Ramana Swami there who sits motionless." These words kindled in me a desire to see him. I bought a little sugar candy as a token offering and went to see him. What a sight he was! For the first time, I saw the magnetic Lord who draws towards himself the minds of those who see him. Even though he was unwashed and uncovered with dust, his body glowed like gold. When I went for darshan again, Bhagavan was sitting inside the Virupaksha cave. On seeing Bhagavan, my mind flowed towards him with uninterrupted, boundless love. But along with his emotion, there was a sort of inexpressible regard and fear. It's only natural for people to feel a sense of awe and reverence while they are near Bhagavan. It is also natural for the individual self to subside in his presence. There was a gracious power that prevailed in that holy place. It numbed the mind, the power of speech, and the body so effectively that the visitors were automatically silenced. There were no rules about silence, but in that holy presence, casual visitors who had come for darshan would automatically remain calm and quiet. When Bhagavan first moved to the Skandashramam, no cooking was done there. Bhagavan and the devotees depended upon the food offerings brought every day. Kamakshi Ammal and myself often used to take food to the ashram. One day, 5 or 6 heads of various months came unexpectedly to the ashram to have Bhagavan's darshan. Since we had not known about this in advance, the food was falling short. When it was time to eat, a devotee approached Bhagavan and said, "They are all waiting. May we take food?" Bhagavan, who knew about the shortage, replied, "Let us wait a while." Sometime later, a group of people unexpectedly came, bringing with them big vessels full of food. Bhagavan asked them to first serve the food to everyone who was present. Only then did he stand up to indicate that he was ready to eat. Once I went to the Skandashramam with fruits and milk, but Bhagavan's mother was unwilling to have the offering brought by a non-Brahmin. Bhagavan, who understood his mother's mind, said to her, "All right, it is better that you go back to your house in Madurai." He then ate some of the offering and gave some to his attendant, who returned what remained to me as Bhagavan's prasad. One day, when I went up the hill with all the required foodstuffs to serve a bhiksha, a Swami told me, since it was a full moon day, it was an auspicious time to receive upadesa from great souls. I approached Bhagavan, bowed, stood up and said, "Bhagavan, kindly tell me something." Bhagavan stared at me and asked, "About what am I to tell you?" I was both puzzled and nonplussed. A mixture of fear and devotion, along with an eagerness to hear Bhagavan's gracious words, welled up within me, rendering me incapable of speech. I just stood mutely. Bhagavan understood my predicament. No one can hide anything from him. He can understand the state of mind of anyone who approaches him. Merely by looking at him, he looked at me graciously and said, "Unnai, vidāmal iru," that is, be without leaving yourself. I could not comprehend the meaning of this high-level upadesa, but as soon as the words came from Bhagavan's mouth, I felt an immense satisfaction and wonderful effulgence in my mind. These gracious words welled up in my mind again and again like the rising of tides. The feeling they produced gave me an indescribable happiness. I stood there delighting myself in the feelings produced by this one phrase. Even today, the sound of the upadesa rings in my ears and bestows immense peace on me. Though I didn't understand what Bhagavan had told, I immediately experienced the state that the words were indicating without ever really understanding what they meant. I came to understand through this experience that in Bhagavan's benign presence, a single gracious utterance can produce the fruit and the fulfillment of all spiritual practices such as Shravana, hearing, Manana, thinking or reflection, and Nididhyasana, contemplation or abidance. In Bhagavan's last days, while I was staying at my village, I was frequently thinking and worrying about his health. I went to the ashram but was prevented from entering the gate as thousands were waiting to have his darshan. By Bhagavan's grace, an inmate of the ashram who knew me somehow came to the place and informed Bhagavan that I had arrived. I was given permission to have darshan. I tried to suppress my emotion, but the feeling that I would soon be losing my one and only God completely destroyed my self-restraint. I cried out to him, "Bhagavan, Bhagavan has decided to give up this body. What can I do?" After I left the room, Bhagavan sent me the following message via the devotee who had opened the door for me. "Why do you feel sorry for this mortal body? It occurred to me that Bhagavan was consoling me by saying, "Don't feel worry about this body. I am always your savior." Desu Mat, David Godman, who has written extensively about Sri Bhagavan and his devotees, gives further insights into the life of Akhilandamma in his wonderful narrative. From David Godman, https://davidgodman.org/Akhilandamma Ganapati Muni and jealous sadhus / When she stayed in her native village with her mother, many of Bhagavan's devotees used to come and stay at her house. With the object of serving such devotees, Akhilandamma and Mastan Swami, whom she introduced to Bhagavan, established a math or center there in 1914 called Sri Ramanananda Mathalayam. It was the first Ramana center to be established outside Tiruvannamalai. Many of Bhagavan's early devotees, such as Kujaswami, Ramaswamy Pillai, Madhavaswamy, and Ramanath Brahmachari, were taken there to recuperate from various illnesses they had contracted in Tiruvannamalai. Kujaswamy, one of her cured patients, made this comment in the introduction to her biography. "I know that for the last 40 years, this lady has been engaging herself in serving food to Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi and Mahan Seshadri Swami. Even from the days when Bhagavan was living at Skandashram, whenever any devotees there fell ill, it was her custom to take them to the math in her village and look after them. She would only send them back after curing their illness." The inscription etched in a stone shown in the following photo that is found at Akhilandamma's Ashram dedicated to Sri Bhagavan reads, "Om Sri Sivamayam Sri Ramanaya Nama Sri Ramanananda Mathalayam Desu." This Dharma establishment has been set up on the 9th day of Vaikhasi month, the year of Ananda, 1914, by Akhilandamma and Mastan Swami, disciples of Sri Ramana Maharshi, who graced the world as a Sadguru in Arunachala. Hereby, Sri Mastan Swamigal Akhilandamma Desu Ganapati Muni. David Godman continues. The following story from Nageshwara Rao's account was published in the Arunachala Ramana magazine in 1982. It does not appear either in Sadhu Om's account or in the Power of the Presence chapter on Akhilandamma. Whenever Ganapati Muni saw me coming, he would exclaim with delight, "Oh, Akhilandamma has come." Emboldened by this, his favorable disposition towards me, one day I asked Ganapati Muni in a plaintive tone, "I am utterly unlettered, while you, I am told, are a master of all the Vedas and the Upanishads. What is the way for me?" The great scholar explained to me with great respect and sweetness, "Akhilandamma, you are really blessed. You are feeding Bhagavan Ramana, who is the very avatar of Kumaraswamy. This is a sure sign of the Lord's grace. Bear it in your mind and take heart. No austerities can give fruit by themselves. Remember this always. It is Ishvara who is the dispenser of the fruit of karma. Sent by that Ishvara himself, Sri Ramana has come down to earth. So, what can please Ishvara more than devoted service to Sri Ramana. When you recognize this secret, your fruit will increase all the more. I have already acquainted you with the fact that my family was very poor. We were always beset with economic difficulties. In addition to this, there arose at one time differences in the family. Unable to bear that affliction, I came before Bhagavan, cried, and broke down in tears. Bhagavan, after remaining silent for some time, opened his mouth and kindly said, Desuramma, mother from Desur, her village, you are under the impression that difficulties have come to you alone. This life is a blend of pain and pleasure. One should have no elation when there is pleasure and no dejection when there is pain. Take my example. I came here at the age of 17. I had no mother or father here. I have spent my time in caves and under trees, in sun, in showers, and in the cold. I begged alms to pacify my hunger. It is only nowadays that all of you have come here to minister to my needs. Still, shedding tears, I said to Bhagavan in a begging tone of voice, You, Bhagavan, are an incarnation, so you can bear all that. But what about a woman like me? I have no one but you to help me. You alone have to have compassion on me. These plaintive words moved Bhagavan, and his eyes became moist. After remaining grave and serious for a while, slowly and steadily, these supreme words emerged from his mouth. Hereafter, remember me whenever you face calamities. With these mighty words of grace ringing in my heart, I came out of the cave, followed by Ganapati Muni. Akhilandamma, he cried with great elation, Your virtue has ripened. Bhagavan has bestowed a rare boon on you. Never before have I seen Bhagavan bestowing a boon like this. And this boon is for future lives also. This day is one of extreme rejoicing for me, for the mighty power of conferring boons, till now hidden in Bhagavan, has now broken out for your sake. The hidden powers of a great and genuine Guru do not easily come out to work in the external world. They do so only for the sake of worthy disciples. The credit of drawing them out, pure lady, goes to you now. It was really a boon to me, as my subsequent experience proved. When difficulties surrounded me like threatening clouds, when life itself became a dungeon, I would utter, Lord Ramana, my Lord Ramana, and call on his protection and help. Then, in a trice, the difficulties would disappear. However severe the calamity, because of Bhagavan's protection, my mind would not get agitated.